Our position in not just in early reading, but at all levels of reading, is that students should be reading at what we call instructional level. And that means they're reading at a level that's at an appropriate match for where they're at. In the early years, you'll have some children coming into school who are good readers, who can read, and some who aren't even at a beginning stage or at the stage of recognising words. So obviously a one-size-fits-all approach is not going to work for all those students. So certainly we would be advocating the move away from the one-class reader, where every child reads the same page, one page a night, or if they do round-robin type reading, to having a set of leveled readers or reading scheme in the classroom or in the school, where there's a wide range of books at a level. So you might have a reading scheme with 30 levels, and maybe at each level there could be 20 books. So the students have a wide range of books to choose from, both fiction and non-fiction, that will help them practice the skills that they have, they currently have. So they're reading at their level. Well, there are a number of very important criteria to consider. For a levelled reader or material, you want to ensure that for beginning readers in particular, that it includes a lot of repetition of high frequency sight words, or words like girl, is, was, said, words that they can't break up and decode. So students will need a lot of repetition of those. A second criteria also, that we would have a lot of repetition of high frequency letter patterns. Common letter patterns like e.g. egg, i.g. ig, at, at, so the children become familiar with seeing those patterns. A third criteria would be a text that has good syntax and structure, so it allows the student to predict easily what the next word will be in the story. For example, you're talking about a very simple one would be the nurse helped the, and then the student is likely to know it's going to be doctor, because the setting has been in a hospital. That's a very simple example now. And the fourth criteria would be obviously a narrative or a storyline that's interesting for students, so motivates them to read and want to turn the next page to see what's happening, and a story that has nice pictures and illustrations to accompany it. Well, certainly one that's common in Ireland, that's been used quite a bit, and that there has been some articles written on to say it meets those criteria, would be the PM reading scheme. So they give a wide range of texts and books for students that will meet all those criteria that we've just mentioned. Well, a level reader allows you to give the student a book at what we call instructional level. An instructional level means that they can read the book very independent, read the book with 90-95% accuracy, not completely independently, but close to it. That allows them then to free up their working memory, or their memory, to put in place strategies that the teacher might need to teach. So if a teacher wants to work on showing a child how to break up a word, or to use a word attack strategy, or to reread a sentence, or use a comprehension strategy, or any reading strategy, it needs to be on text that they're familiar with. So they're able to devote all their energy to using that strategy, as opposed to trying to decode, to figure out what a word is if they can't read the text. So level readers are fantastic for that, because you can pitch the reader at instructional level for the child. And all too often we're teaching children strategies, or asking them to implement reading strategies or a new skill on material that they can't read, or they can't read with enough fluency and independence. So it's very important that when we want to teach a child a reading strategy, or work on reading comprehension, or work on decoding skills, how to decode a word, that it's on material that they can read and that they're familiar with, and that's at instructional level. That's a really, really important part of level readers, and it's a really important, it's a function that they can fulfill, and you can be fairly certain, if you're working through a level scheme, that the child will be on at instructional level. Well, we certainly, it would be much more beneficial for a student to be going home with a reader that's at instructional level for them, than taking home perhaps a class reader, where for some students the class reader will be too easy, so they're not actually learning anything from the reading. Or for some it might be too difficult, so they're overwhelmed by the reading material and get turned off reading so easily, particularly at that young age where they need to feel success and enjoy books and enjoy reading. It's really, really important that readers are at the correct level for them. The beauty about a levelled reading material is that you can have up to 20 to 40 titles, so students get maybe a different book each night for a month or 6 weeks. So they get a variety of texts. They get to read fiction and they get to read non-fiction. And those schemes are designed that words, again, are repeated frequently, that the same type of decodable patterns are arising, so parents get to see also their child reading successfully, and it's very motivating for children to read that type of material. One of the ultimate goals for all readers, including very young readers, is that they will be able to read material independently. And that means reading material at a level of 98% accuracy. If we recall, the practice of reading independently really boosts confidence and allows them to access all the material, understand the material they're reading. And level readers, or a level reading scheme, allows for that. Allows for the child to be matched at just the right textbooks. So they can be matched at independent level or other levels depending on the task involved. But for independent level, they need to be matched to texts where they have 98% accuracy. We have found from practice that, and from talking to teachers in schools, that weaker readers tend to want to choose books that perhaps are a little bit too difficult for them. And it's really important that students have choice in the books they select. So having a levelled reading scheme will give them the choice. They may have 20 or 40 books to choose from, but they're choosing from a correct level for themselves. Another important thing about the independent reading at independent level is that it gives you opportunity to read what we'd call easy text. So lots of easy reading makes reading easy. So it's really important. You can't do enough of that type of rehearsal and practice of words that you already know. It builds up confidence and it's very motivating for students. It certainly is. It is a big investment for a school to acquire a high quality leveled reading scheme, particularly if you want to have multiple copies of a book when you're doing guided reading. So certainly it's a huge investment, but I think in the long run it's a worthwhile investment. Another thing that's very important to take into account in a level reading scheme is the number of fiction and non-fiction books. Research is showing us that we tend to stock our libraries with more fiction than non-fiction books, and that all students need to be exposed to a wide variety of genre in terms of reading material. So something like the PM reading scheme does incorporate both fiction and non-fiction. A level reading material usually has a wide range of texts, so there's a different book going home each night with the student. And if you start in junior infants and you work through to senior infants and first or second, it will be a large investment, obviously, buying the books initially for the scheme, but it will have a lot of payoff in the long run as children progress up through the level readers and getting to read just the right text with parents at home. In time, I think when schools have invested in the books, it probably would be worthwhile for them to invest in the benchmark kit that accompanies, say, the PM reading scheme. And this allows them then to do kind of an assessment or a benchmark to find out what level the child is at, so that it can be placed on just the correct reading material. Some of the tasks involved might be doing a running record on a book at a particular level to see are they able for that level. And if they're able for it, they might move up. If they're not able for it, they might move down. So it just means that it's a way of ensuring the child at the correct level. Well, ongoing professional development for teachers is really, really important. This can take place at a local level. It doesn't have to be necessarily with further training. Take, for example, the bit of footage we have from Tulla there, where members of the learning community, which are teachers in the area, come together to discuss how to use running records, how to benchmark a child on a correct reader, how to solve the problem about matching books to maybe students higher up the school who are struggling. So it's a community where teachers are learning from each other and sharing experiences, and it's a really valuable way to build up your professional development. Learning from your peers is probably much more effective, and a lot more learning goes on in those types of communities and groupings than if we were to go off on a course for a number of days. Not that there's not a benefit attached to that as well, but it's a really, really important way and a cost-effective way of sharing what works for teachers with other teachers.